Alright, so we're trying them 4K 60 frames. I think I dropped down from 60 to 30 when we had some overheating, just to see if the less frame rates would help improve that. Also, storage, right? The other thing is something that many of you may not know, is when you do frame rate, like as in you do your 60 FPS, that is double 30 FPS. You know what that means? The shutter speed doubles, which means you need twice as much light. We don't have twice as much light, so we'll see how it does. Let me know. The reason why I realized that the Pixel 9 Pro, and we've actually had no issues with it, wasn't at 60 and was doing 30 was because the iPhone had to step in a couple times and it was doing 60. So maybe I dropped it down to 30 on the Pixel 9 so it wouldn't overheat. I've shot even 2-hour videos for you guys where the battery has died. They finally fixed this recording with the Pixel 9 Pro. They said they had from the 6 to the 7 Pro. They didn't. It overheated all the time. And 9 seems to truly be fixed, at least if you don't have HDR and all this other jazz on. If it's just like straight 4K 30, I've even gone 2.5 hours. The other thing they fixed is previously on Pixel, if it didn't close out the file, you would lose it. So, like, twice now, the battery on the phone has died. We don't have that issue today. We're at 82% right now. But I forgot that I was going to shoot a video after work, and I didn't charge it during work. So, yeah, it died while we were shooting. Not going to happen this time. But, I don't know if I have enough light in the basement here for what we're trying to do. Or if, maybe I dropped off at 60. I can't remember if that was just because it wasn't being used. Or I know for a while there I was actually doing 1080p 30. Haha, and upscaling and not telling you guys. And that was for the midnight car rant videos because the light is so low light there. So I'm actually, the lower frame rate I can go, the lower resolution I can go, the better, basically. Before we get into this package, which you may or may not recognize, you guys that follow me for EDC, you may or may not know what company that is. I will give you another hint in that this is try number 2, not 4, I guess 2. Try number 2, or 2 if you're German and or European, or basically not America. One thing I will make a note of is last year at some point they changed both the bottles for the green tea I drink and the Pocari Sweat. What also came with that, interestingly, was a switch in distribution. Or production, I guess, not distribution, because it's distributed in the U.S. But if we go out off of here, this is now manufactured in Thailand. If you look at the previous stuff I was getting that has the normal original Pocari Sweat bottle, or the Japanese style green tea bottle, which is a much more robust bottle, the other way you can tell is the cap got shorter, which is a very American thing to do. In Japan, they just don't want to redo their lines, and they actually have a reinforced necks on their bottles and stuff like that. Really nice bottles, actually. But America likes their squishy water bottles that don't retain themselves and barely are thick enough to hold water. So what happened is both the green tea, the Itoen green tea I drank, and Pocari Sweat moved out of Japan to Taiwan for their international distribution. That actually what made them available on Amazon US during COVID, because during COVID, Japan just cut off all import-export, basically. They just were like, nope. So, if you're distributing out of Japan to these other countries, if you're Pocari Sweat, you want to make money. You still want to make money, right? So, Japan and Taiwan have very good, relationships, that sort of stuff. Probably fairly easy to move production down there. Since Japan's like, no, we're not. Basically, for mail, for example, they use commercial flights, and they put like a pot of mail in a flight with commercial flight. Well, when you completely do not let people in your country and don't let flights land internationally and stuff like that, you can't do mail. So like you had to do mail via sea, and then because ports were so behind, your sea mail, instead of being like a month, is 2 months minimum. But during that time, that is when they switched from Japan production to Taiwan production. And then I want to say in 2024, I noticed that the bottles changed, right? And with that came production in Thailand. So those of you that think, oh yeah, we're going to tariff Taiwan and everything's going to come to the U.S., I'm sorry to tell you, no, they're just going to go to Thailand or Malaysia or the Philippines. You know. And I don't know if this is a precursor to that, but they also went to a cheaper bottle when they did that. It tastes the same. I'm sure they're like Coca-Cola, where they, Coke actually does regional flavors. As far as I can tell, these are just made exactly the same. But I have a feeling that when they went to Japan to Taiwan, or Taiwan might have already had the same bottling facilities, or they just used the Japanese ones, got them down there. But now that it has switched to Thailand, it has the cheaper, smaller cap. Like this is a half-height cap. At least some of you might not even be old enough in the U.S. to know that we used to have taller caps and more threads. Then it was determined that like, that's not needed, that's wasted plastic, etc. Japan has always had like a reinforced, like you'll see a white plastic, if the bottle's clear, you'll see a white plastic like lip that the cap actually screws into. I don't actually know the reasoning for why they went that route. Either way, it's a much smoother, because often the seam is right up here, right? So with that white plastic, it's actually a much smoother drink to drink from. You could tell the bottles are skinnier on the green tea and much more floppy. So besides the probably cheapened production going from Taiwan to Thailand, they make cheaper vessels for the liquids to be in. I think that's just going to apply to the rest of the stuff that ends up moving, because often a lot of the stuff shifted from China to Taiwan, even though, like, because of the tariffs, even though Taiwan is actually a higher cost to produce, and because the tariff was making it more money than moving it to Taiwan. None of that still got moved to the U.S., if you've noticed. So in many cases, it can't. Now, maybe if the U.S. government funds some of that, but just a look into the tech sector and stuff like that for those interested. It's already happened with the drinks. And yeah, if you like a nice non-sweetened green tea, the Itoen, the jasmine's really good. You can actually pick it up at Walmart now. You know, ever since they moved it to Taiwan, you can just buy it there. The stuff from Walmart is still from Taiwan, whereas my stuff that I buy in cases comes from Thailand, and that's off Amazon. I just have it on the subscribe and save auto reorders. Pocari Sweat. If you're a type of person that likes classic Gatorade, like the OG, you'll probably like this. Grapefruit, just a hint of grapefruit. It tastes refreshing. And if you ever get like a really sour taste in your mouth that you can't get to go away, you actually might need electrolytes. That, you know, like if you're somebody that just drinks plain water with nothing in it all the time, you actually might need, because human bodies do need more than water. You know, find yourself a vitamin water or a Pocari Sweat or Gatorade or something like that, or at least get like even some sodas can do that and stuff like that. You know, find something with actually something in it, and you'll notice that that taste will go away. So I'm not saying drink this stuff all, you know, because this is bad for kids, blah, blah. Yeah, if this is the only thing you get them to drink, sure. I'm definitely not You're like, oh, you're not the lightest weight person ever. Yep, no, I'm not. So you don't have to listen to me on anything. I'm just giving you some tips on, or you can use some of the additives that you can pour, make your Gatorade and Gatorade powder or whatever. Sometimes you do need, I don't always drink one of these, but sometimes you're just like, oh, it's really refreshing to drink one. And there's a reason why for that chemically with your body and stuff like that. Yeah, very light grapefruit flavor. I would argue, like some people that I know that they like a standard Gatorade, or there's certain type of people I can tell because I'm drinking this for a long time where they're like, I know they'll appreciate it. My dad's one person, like he always used to drink this when he would cycle in Japan, and I brought him one over the other day. And he's just like, oh, I remember these. And we were working on the car. That's why I brought over, I'd say the other day. That was like 4 or 5 months ago, I'm sure, if not more. But he's like, oh, this is still super refreshing. And it is. There's something about this that, for me, the light flavor, it tastes a bit thick. I'm a very textural eater, I would say. It's not actually thick, but... yeah, give it a shot. And a lot of people will be like, oh, A2N green tea, that's super basic. It is. In Asia, that is like the most basic B green tea. And I don't even get like the extra bold or extra dark, or so every now and then a jasmine. I could not drink that all the time. And that's what I drink every day. Just a standard. And oddly, I've come to, just plain old green tea, unsweetened, is refreshing. I never knew I would get to that point, if that makes sense. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm actually like craving that, and not just water, but like tea. Yeah. Now I'm spoiled. I used to have to buy that from like a Japanese market, and coupon for $15 off your next order of $25. There you go. If somebody uses it before me, go for it. I'm part of Pen Club, so not too many of you out there. It's definitely printed on that side. But yeah, give some. I used to have to, like I said, I used prior to like the whole COVID thing where I can now just buy it off Amazon, because of the. I've mentioned that happens with music. You make a new remaster of it, or a vinyl comes out that allows them to renegotiate the contract, and it pops up on streaming. Now I can get it overseas. Similar thing happened with COVID. That's also how I get some live streams from bands. Was they were like, oh shit, we can't actually perform in person, so we can't make our revenue from concerts. Well, let's go online. Well, if you can get online in Japan, I can most of the time get that live stream or watch it. So even though I don't intend for that to happen necessarily, but I can try pretty darn hard and be able to see it. But yeah, I used to have to buy it from Japanese grocery store. So I'd like often, like you can get these Pocari Sweat in like the big jugs. I would buy like for the convention, Anime Central, I would buy at least one, and then one for the convention, one to bring home, or one for the convention, two to bring home. Often I'll load up. Now I don't have to, because I just... Turns out, I always wondered why they just didn't sell in the US. Like they are like the #1 hydration drink, like most of the world, except for the US. Like, why not? Why not? So some of you, you recognize the box probably. Kustoms, also known as Keros Penco. You guys saw the discount code. They make great pens. They're one of the OGs. They were one of the first ones after CW&T to come out with a Hi-Tec-C based, and it was this pen. Actually, this pen is based on that same pen. This is a Render K. And this is my second one of these because I ordered it once before and had to return it because the bottom half of the pen only got one coat of paint. And you could see it through it. You can check out that video. They took it back, no problems. But by the time I sent it back, because these are limited edition or limited run pens, they had sold out of the yellow. And you guys know why I want yellow. That ended up being my color. Turns out I have a lot of things that are yellow. There's a very light, almost tactile turn-esque turning of the grip. Let's go back to a 1X and pop it up here, I think. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a very light turning of the grip, which is very unique. I have yet to, because I have 3, 4 plus of the original Render Ks. Squeers actually has my original one from the Kickstarter. And then I have a copper brass and bar stock aluminum. So it's basically just raw aluminum bar. They didn't taper it down to this nice point. It does not post, just for those wondering. Hey, look, this one's been fully machined. This is not something I noticed on the previous one. I may have missed it in the previous video, where I said, like, hey, this I got like a half-finished one. And even more, look, there's no extra, like, milled spalling and stuff like that. So not only did mine look unfinished on the outside, like it only got one pass of paint, it was like they milled it and never cleaned out all the millings out of it. Now, I don't know if that was the inner thread that they milled or the outer thread and how it would have ended up in there, but you wouldn't, like, how did it miss 2 steps of the process? Like, you're not going to find just, like, extra milling bits, you know, like in there usually, or in this case, it was in this part, and this is the part that was only half painted. So it's just very odd that it would somehow get halfway done on 2 different steps. Like I said, they were good about it. You know, they refunded me, sent it back. I was actually debating for a while with whether or not I should send it back, but I'm like, it's unfinished. I'm going to like see it all the time just because it's like a limited edition one, and then they did end up doing more, or a limited run. You know, that was batch 2, so this is probably batch 3. They also have different colors now. They have a really nice orange that I considered. Before I bought the orange, though, I decided I should probably pick up, re-pick up this yellow, make sure that one's good, and the finish on this lower half is perfect. On the previous one, you could have seen silver coming through, where like you would have done like a light initial coat, right? And then you would have done like the second coat of the paint, or like it only got paint from overspray, like that. It was very, very, very weird. Either way, like I said, they sent me a label. I shipped it back because, you know, like some places I have had like want me to pay the ship back, and I'm like, you're the one that sent me the bad product. What the hell? So, picked this up, and I had gotten out this Hi-Tec-C refill, Hi-Tec-C Coletto for it. Or not Coletto. Coletto's the multi-pen variant. This is the, I don't remember the name for it, but it is the Pilot LHRF 15C4. The 4 at the end, the C4, that is it's a 4mm. I think they were available in some other, but much more limited sizes. This is the Pilot G2. If you notice, what came out was a Pilot G2. What went in was a variant of a Hi-Tec-C. Now, the issue is that makes you think, oh, Click Pen. I can put... sorry, I thought I was reading my note here. Don't need that note anymore. I can put this refill into any, like you could put it, and it was in here. This is actually the body of a Pilot Juice, not even a Juice Up. But you can't, because this store's tipped down. This refill, despite being a click pen refill, has to be stored, and in every version of the pens that it has come in, it has been stored tip up. If you look at every Hi-Tec-C, not the Coletto, but any standard Hi-Tec-C, it also stores tip up. And where does that come in? Like, how did you find out that you shouldn't be storing it tip down like that? Well, I had my original Bolt V2, or Bolt, he's a Bolt V1. Either way, we got it out of the grab bag. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw in there a Hi-Tec-C click refill, because that takes G2s, and you cannot fit anything else into it. This tip pen or refill has been upside down for weeks, months, maybe even. You know, you guys probably saw the last video where I had. You just gotta kind of shake it like this, and it'll eventually get itself back started again. Kind of getting the. I can even show you on the refill where. So there's a gap right there because it was tip up for so long. The best way to actually store Hi-Tec-C is not even tip up, it's on its side. But I tend to store mine in the Keras cubes, which put it either tip up or tip down, depending on the type of pen. Or they have, I can go grab it if I can get this thing going. This is the guy. This was one of their replacements for the cube. It can be made much cheaper because the inserts inside are foam. So there's like a harder foam on the outside. See, this has a juice in it. Scribble, scribble, right straight away. See, downside of some of these Hi-Tec-Cs, I still think the best form for a Hi-Tec-C is probably the original, like the original clear crystal stick pen style. Number 2, I would say, is the actually original TI2 pen. I don't know, I've never had that one not right with an original Hi-Tec-C in it. Number 3, pen type A. Then pen type B. Everything else is kind of shit after that. The original Keras pens, and I may have to do it here still. Hopefully I don't have to because of the beautiful finish. They didn't, normally with a gel pen, you use atmospheric pressure. There's a little hole in the back side of this. The atmospheric pressure is what actually pushes the, well, this is gel ink. A lot of people, when you see gel, see this part, and they think of that, like gel. But that's basically, use atmospheric pressure to push on this, so then the ink comes out that side. So if you don't let air basically get here to push, it never advances. And you'll get a gap between this and the ink. And then it's going to write on and off, very spotty. Kind of like how you saw the ink separate in the tip here. Trying to think of how I got to that. Oh, yeah. So what ended up happening is on the original Keras Kustoms Render K that took the native original Hi-Tec-C refill, there was no way to CW&T put like little notches on the side of the tip to let air pass through. TI2 has a hole in the back, kind of like this refill of this G2, this Pilot G2 has. With the Keras, it never flowed properly until I drilled the holes. Once I drilled the holes, they're some of my most reliable Hi-Tec-C pens. You can kind of advance on it too. What I was just doing is blowing, like just shove this end in your mouth and blow. And try and get some, basically force this down further and get some ink to come out of that tip. I let this guy sit uncapped because this also is not a capped, it's a click refill. And you're like, why would it be capped? Well, even though this is a click refill, all the pens that they had it in, I think except for one, were capped pens that just took this style of refill. So if you look at the original Hi-Tec-C, they had a little ball, like a little rubber ball that caps this end. And that's why this one writes like shit, comparatively, is it's just that ink and that tip style are not meant to be a click style refill. But this style pen only takes that, but it's a cap. So it should theoretically be a match made in heaven. If I can get it to run. It was running in the previous pen for a while, but that was months ago, Sometimes too you can wet it. Some people lick them. I generally just get some on my fingers, and then you can like kind of roll it around in there. See, because we're getting a little then. That's to get from stop being so dry, or to hopefully get the tip that's very dry a little bit wetter. Yeah, I'll see somebody actually put it in your mouth and like lick the tip. Often I find that the different texture of my fingers will also get it to roll a little bit better. Because your fingerprints. Jeez, this thing really does not want to. Some people also, I think like maybe not boil water, but get hot water and put them in to try and like make the ink a little bit more fluid. Normally I don't have this much trouble. Like I said, here's a juice that has literally been sitting down here for over 2 years. Right? The ink has, look at this, the gel is all the way at the top, and it's supposed to be pushing down on here, right? And it's sat tip down. Now what has happened? What caused this, right? And it's actually like oozing out of the top. Now what caused that? Well, because there's no cap on the end, right? And there normally isn't for a juice, but they come capped like with a little ball of silicone or plastic or whatever. Air has actually been entering through the tip, like a little gap in the tip, and actually making it up all the way through the ink, and then pushing this gel up is what's been happening. But despite this, look at this, writes right away. You can see that on the G2 where it has this little cap, right? That's to prevent the air from going that way. Also from drying it out, which is what we've kind of had in this tip. If you notice, there's that gap right there of no ink. And if you go around here, there's still some more, like there's like a bubble right there a little bit further down close to that metal tip. And that's what we're trying to overcome. And realistically, you either need to get ink to go past that, or you need the air bubble to go up through it all. So this is a Battle Worn. If you guys ever buy Kustoms, you might consider that. They have their Battle Worns, which are their ones. Probably you'd probably get the ass end of this pen of my original one, and they just tumble them. So they tumble out all the defects and the finish issues. You can see on the tip here, it's a little bit like silvery. You can see on some of these that are mating surfaces, a little bit silvery. They just huck them into like a rock tumbler basically, and this one's decent. I think David's, he has to leave his like unturned just slightly because otherwise the tip sticks out of the end down here. Because they're very, very short. If you guys watch my modal Keras tends to not have their pens retract into the pen, or their ink retract into the pen as far as a lot of like stock pens would, or other brands that mirror the stock pen. And then when you get one that's actually like purposely worn down to make it usable again, it does almost slightly poke out like that, like just ever so slightly. So you just untwist it just a hair, and because there's still an O-ring here at the top, it'll hold it. So not the end of the world. But what ended up happening is I put this refill here into this guy, right? And then I put it in here, which stores it tipped down, right? And then in the bottom of this, there's a foam. Now, I still never 100% figured out, but I had this happen in one of my cubes too that does not use foam at the bottom. What I thought with the foam is if it possibly kept the tip on this depressed, like, because some of these work like with capillary action. So because of it's just lightly touching, because of how close the tip in this gets, maybe it kept the ink flowing, right? It kept the ink flowing, and then it basically diarrheaed itself all inside of here, and I had a ton of fun cleaning it. It was not fun. But the same thing with this same refill happened. Oh, you can see. Look, there's one of the air bubbles. It is coming. See? See it down there in the ink? It is slowly coming up this way. Huh. Well, we're going to be fighting this, I think, for quite a while longer. But basically, it sat like this, and then it diarrheaed itself all in the bottom of this. I thought it was possible because there is foam at the very way down in there, and it was possibly depressing the tip. Notice it hasn't done it with the juice refill. But then one of these did that in my cubes, right? And what it did it in was, let's see if I can find one here. That's for this guy. What it did it in was one of these originally. As you can see, that one that's been sitting tip up for months, mostly used, but has a giant air bubble in between there. So that is a significant downside of your gelling. For those wondering, after I just dropped two important things, pieces of pens on the floor. Lovely. What? Where did that come from? If not there. What in the hell? Okay. Not okay. Alright, well, here is our magnet. I don't know if that's going the right way or not. This still writes right away because it was at least stored tip up. Now, where the hell did my little washer go? Well, frick. Frick me. I didn't realize I dropped it, and then suddenly... it was very dropped, as were other parts of the pen. So basically, on this is a magnet on the back side here. Oh, device is too hot. Quality may be reduced. there we go. That is why we switched off of 4K 60. So I don't think we're going... This will probably be the last video on 4K 60, and I will actually reduce the quality of the iPhone to 4K 60, because since being on 4K 30 on the Pixel 9 Pro, have not had a single lick of trouble with it. We're at 35 minutes, so, you know, like, keep it under 20. Probably even less if you're using HDR and other things like that. I really need to find that magnet. Sorry, I have the magnet. The washer that was in the pen. In the meantime, though, we can put this back, even though it might not even write anymore. I'll have to store it, tip down for a little bit, which we can do. Now that it actually has a cap, I'm a little bit less concerned about that, doing that, you know. Now, one thing they don't have that they could have improved on even more, but that's probably due to compatibility of refills, is there is no rubber stopper in the cap. There is, however, an O-ring on the inside, so it does actually fully, properly seal around here. So when you put it on, it isn't exposed to the air, which is the other thing that would have probably prevented this refill from drying out as much as it had when it was just sitting kind of just in this body temporarily, you know. Well, guys, I'm going to have to leave you at that because our camera is overheating, and we're going to actually go to the iPhone for right now. This actually does make it easier on me, for those wondering. So you won't see any 60. I'm going to go basically back to what I used to do, which is either 1080p 60 or 4K 30. I do shoot still sometimes with my little Sony cam. Lately, it's been more and more with the Pixel 9, or if I run out or this thing's in doing something else, the iPhone. But I love shooting with that the RX 0 Mark II. They basically said there's never going to be a Mark III. I had to get third-party batteries when I needed new ones. One of my micro SD cards died, which is why it actually stopped for a while. I need to buy a new one. And then I might go back doing that. Also, my Panasonic, whatever, G85, I think, is the one I'm running. That's also a 4K 30. So it's kind of just easier if we just standardize a 4K 30, and I had done that for a long time. But hey, I think with Pixel 7 Pro, they let me do 4K 60, no HDR, and actually set it so I was doing that. But even at 4K 30, I was still getting, I think even on 1080p 60, I was getting overheating. But I've literally never had a lick of overheating at 4K 30 on this Pixel 9 Pro. And in just a half hour here or so, we've already overheated it. So back down to 4K 30. Already put the iPhone down there, which is actually better because that's the smallest version of that iPhone SE 3rd gen. We don't have much room to play with, unlike on the terabyte Pixel 9 Pro. Let me know what you thought. Do you think it was right for me to give Keras Kustoms a second try? And let me know what you think of the pen. By the way, that is the complete wrong color. I don't know. Let's go to white balance once. Nope, wrong way. I would say that's about right. Yeah, I mean, this is 4,000 Kelvin for the white balanced. So I would say that's, you know, it's a daylight, you know, versus that. So now that Pays is here, we definitely got to find that little washer that's being used as a spacer. Otherwise, it's going to be forever Forever Lost. Is it time to watch anime and go to sleep? Yeah, for those, I apologize for the crazy hair. That's what's getting dealt with tomorrow before work. That's what Paige is telling me is, hey, it's time to get some sleep. You gotta get up early. So hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Enjoy this one. The last of your 4K 60 glorious video. Have a good one as always. Peace.